Right. Well, welcome everybody. I think people are filtering in and joining us. We'll wait for just a few seconds until we're right on time to start. But you are at creating engaging and interactive learning experiences with Pressbooks. And I hope your Open Education Week 2025 is off to a great start. It's always an exciting time. I know many of you have been actively engaged in open education for a long time, and it's gratifying each year to see the event get a little bigger and a little bigger as the interest and use of open education is increasing across the world. So today, my colleague, I'm Steele Wagstaff, the customer experience lead from Pressbooks, and I'm joined with my co-presenter today is John McLeod. I'll let him introduce himself briefly.
Thanks, Steele. John McLeod here. I work with Steele. Quite glad to be doing that. I'm one of our account managers and our sales team lead at Pressbooks, and really excited that you joined us today. So thank you.
Thanks, John. So what we're going to talk about is creating engaging, interactive, and engaging. Sorry, I'll start again. We're going to talk about creating engaging, interactive learning experiences with Pressbooks. Many of you are already familiar with Pressbooks, but if you're not, it is a free and open source publishing platform that's used to publish lots of teaching and learning materials and book-like objects. And what we're going to demonstrate is something that can be done by anybody using open source Pressbooks or enterprise hosted Pressbooks. And I'm clicking the wrong button, but I wanted to share this. Are you still seeing my screen here, John? Okay. All right, so this is an example. So I'm starting with the sample book. I come from the English literature background, and one of my favorite poets is Lorraine Niedecker. So I made this as an example of the kind of teaching material I might make if I wanted to transform a passive reading assignment into something that was more active and more interactive. This is a public chapter in a public book. So anyone in the web can go out and access this URL and read this content. So it's got a chapter. You can see there's a contextual information here with the publication history. This here is going to be a glossary term where you can learn more about glossary. This here is going to be a footnote. We've got a footnote that links them down to the bottom of the chapter. And there's more glossary terms. At the end of this context, there's a quiz question that they can interact with and take. And then here's the poem I've asked them to read. After they've read the poem, I give them some instructions about what to do. And then there's more assessments, little inline quizzes. These are designed to be what are called formative assessments. So the goal of this is not to give them a final quiz or a final grade. It's to let students practice and check their understanding. I think we all know from the learning sciences that feedback is most effective the closer it is, when it's given closer to the time of assessment. So the idea here is that a student is taking this real-time assessment whenever they're ready, and they're getting immediate feedback or responses based on their answers. They can check their understanding. They can see, hey, what do I need to relearn, restudy? And it can loop back into, hey, this is what I need to focus on, and go back to check. It also can happen at any time. It doesn't have to happen while I'm in class. Asynchronously, the student can do this at their own pace, at their own time. And that's really helpful as an instructor to have that capability. If I scroll down a little bit further, you'll see I've got another poem, a bit more publication history and some context here. Got a poem, post-poem quiz. I've got some embedded audio. This is of the poet reading the poem.
Here. Now I have to take my bare walls down.
And then I've got an embedded video where they could watch an inline video and learn more about people discussing the poem. And then there's a quiz here about this poem. And then at the end, I've asked them to do a reflection activity to write an essay. So all of these things are done with Pressbooks and an open source plugin called H5P. And these are examples of different types of H5P activities or assessments that can work. You'll also notice earlier in the chapter, you saw these things that were highlighted. I can turn that on or off if I don't want to see it. But this is annotation that's been made using the free and open source plugin Hypothesis. And so I can provide questions or links or pictures or all different types of contextual material on this text. And I can turn it into a social learning experience as well, where students can reply, they can have conversations, they can annotate things of interest. Or if they're having problems with something, I can provide an annotation and then send them the link directly to the annotation that explains the thing that they're struggling about or wanting to understand. So this is an example from the discipline of English, but you could do similar things in really any discipline, and we'll have some examples here. John and I have a demo course that if you'd like to participate with, you can enroll yourself in and follow along. But the thing that I want to show first is how you would go about building this. So I'm going to click the edit button and I'll show you the back end of Pressbooks. In Pressbooks, you have all of this editing interface here. And each of these elements is built usually with this visual editor. So if I wanted to create a new text box of some kind, I could create a new line and I would click the text box button and decide which type of text box. Maybe it's a key takeaways text box. You'll see that's a pre-formatted text box that's already included here. If I wanted to turn this into a link, I could highlight that text and then I would click the link button and add my link. Or if I wanted to make a footnote, I click the footnote button or a glossary button. So all the tools that you saw me build in here were built with this visual editor, except for the H5P activities. In order to build H5P activities, there's going to be a little module here over on the left-hand side of the page that says H5P content, and I'm going to click the Add New button. If you've never done this before, you'll see there can be a kind of overwhelming number of content types. There's really a lot of interactive types of content you can make in this book. I'm going to say that a few of them are best suited for grading or for automatic assessment. They're going to be things like fill in the blanks, multiple choice, quiz, question set, and so forth. We've got a full list in our guide chapter if you really want to dive in. But for now, I'll show an example of the quiz question set. I've started with the quiz that I've already made a couple of questions in just to save time, and I'm going to add a new question to it. I'll click the edit button or the new activity button. And typically when you're creating a new H5P activity in Pressbooks, you'll see two things that are really helpful. The first is a tutorial link. So if I open this, this is documentation provided by H5P about how to use that specific question type. Usually they'll give you a nice example, give you some kind of pedagogical advice for when to use them, and then they'll go step by step for how to go about the process of creating that particular activity type. That can be really helpful when you're first getting started. Or if you want to see an example, they will typically provide an example activity where you can see the capabilities of the activity type and say, oh, I see what's going on. It's giving feedback. It's showing some of the capabilities of that question set. I won't show that now, but what I will show is I've created a title and I've created two questions in this activity. And what I want to do now is add a third question. So to do that, I also need to find the document where I wrote my sample question, so I don't have to make it up extemporaneously. All right, so to do that, I'm going to click the button Add Question, and it will ask me, which question type do I want to include? In a quiz, you can have multiple choice questions, drag and drop, fill in the blanks, mark the words, true, false, essays, image choice. I'm going to just go with multiple choice for demonstration purposes here. The title of this question is going to be about prose and property. When you're creating these activities, it really does help to give them descriptive titles, especially if you're planning to use this in a learning management system. The reason why is you will have the ability in the learning management system provided by Pressbooks to see this, you and your students will see the scores they got on individual activities. And a descriptive title helps you know which activity that score was for. So it's helpful to you and your students when you're trying to understand what did they earn that score from. All right, so I'm going to enter the question prompt here. And then down below, it's going to give me what are my answers, my plausible distractors. So the first question, the first answer I'm going to enter is this, and I'm going to mark this one as correct. If I'd like to, I can also provide a tip, which is a hint ahead of time, or a specific answer if they give this answer, or a specific answer or specific feedback if they don't give this answer. For the sake of time, I will skip over that, but you'll be able to see it in our later demo example here. I'll provide another plausible distractor. I'll put the third option in. I'll put the fourth one. And in this case, I want to have it be a multiple select where there are actually two answers that are correct, and I want them to get both of them to get full points on this. So I'll mark that as correct. Down below, you'll see a bunch of behavioral settings. This tells you and your students what happens after they submit the activity. I do want them to be able to retry this as many times as they want. I don't want to show them the solution. I want them to get it not by just clicking the solution button, but by reading and thinking. So I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to say, let's randomize the answers. That's great. And I will show the score points after they answer it correctly. And in this case, I think it's fine to randomize the questions. That's great. So the overall quiz will randomize the questions. And then I will click update. So at this point, I've created or edited my first H5P activity. It's a quiz question set. And once I've clicked update, as an instructor, it will present this activity to me and I can take it and practice and make sure that it looks the way I want it to for students. So I'd say, okay, let's try this. I didn't get that one right, but I see which ones were correct. I see a retry button. I can move on to the next question and I can check that one, okay. And then I'll move to the last one and I'll say this is the correct answer, okay. And when I click the finish button, it will show me the overall score. That's what I wanted. This is an activity that's worth 4 points with 3 questions. That's looking good. So at this point, I'll come back to the book or the chapter, and I would come into the place in the book that I want to add that activity. And I'm going to click, oops, sorry. I'm going to click enter. And in Pressbooks, if the plugin is active, I'll click the add H5P button. And here's that foreclosure quiz that I just made. I'm going to click insert and add it into the chapter. I'll click save. This will insert in the chapter. If I wanted to, I could have previewed it to make sure it looked the way I wanted to. But now at this point, if this book is open, it's on the public web, anyone on the web can find this book, they can read the book, they can produce those activities and do self-paced learning, which is great for open education. It turns out that many of you also, in addition to doing open education, also teach 4-credit courses. And if you want to use this book in a 4-credit course, Pressbooks has a feature called Pressbooks Results that lets you do that. And the key here is it needs to be active on your network, and you'll need to configure the chapter for grading. If Pressbooks Results is active, the configuration is very simple. You'll see all of the gradable activities in your chapter displayed just below. And you'll pick which ones do I want to include the grade for the grade report. Typically, I think the best option is if it's gradable, put it in the grade report. If not, explain to students which ones are going to be graded and which ones aren't, because that can be very confusing. But usually you'll say all of them will be gradable. This is going to tell me what the activity title is and what type it is. And then I'll pick the grading scheme. There's 3 options here. First attempt, average attempt, and best attempt. First attempt means the first time I try each activity, it will keep my score and then average them together. So my first attempt on this true-false question, my first attempt on the question set, first attempt, so forth. So this is going to be a little bit higher stakes, and it's going to be like, you better pay attention your first time through. You can retry it as much as you want, but the grade that goes to the gradebook is your first attempt. Average attempt is the average of every attempt on this question, plus the average of every attempt on this question, summed and averaged together. And the best attempt, which is the most, I think, generous if you're doing formative assessment, is take as many times as you want. The score that will go to the gradebook is your best attempt on each of these activities. So I'm going to select best attempt for this activity, and I'll click save. So at this point, I have an activity. I've created some interactive learning content, and I want to bring it into my learning management system. So I have a demo course here. If you'd like to see this course and experience it yourself, it's built in Canvas, and Canvas allows self-enrollment. We've made this an open course. You'll see in the top right, if you visit this course, join this course button. And if you'd like to join the course, feel free to click the join the course and follow along. But I'm logged as an instructor, and I'm going to come into my modules section. If you're using D2L or Moodle or Blackboard, it will be slightly different, but very similar principle. We'll come in here to my graded activities chapter, and I'm going to click the plus button and click external tool. And then I'll find the option that says Pressbooks content selector. What will happen is I will be able to select content from my Pressbooks network to bring in. I'll bring in the Pressbooks results viewer, which I already did in advance. And I will also bring in, I'll find this Niedecker chapter. This is the chapter. Because I've configured it for grading, you're going to see an option over here that says graded assignment, which means we will automatically send a grade to the LMS gradebook when people do this activity. If it wasn't configured for grading, you'll see linked resource, which means it's a link that people can open and they'll be able to read and have access to it, but there will be no grade passed back to the gradebook. So in this case, I'm going to just bring in this one chapter instead of everything, and I'll click select content. But you could do this to bring in as much content as you wanted all at once. I've got a new activity here called literature. I want to make it the first thing that they do, and I'm going to edit it so that it's worth 20 points instead of 10 points. By default, the grade score in the grade book is just 10. And in this case, I'll say edit assignment settings. I could give special instructions at the top if I wanted, but I don't need to here. I was pretty clear. I'll put it in an assignment group if I want. I'm going to display the grade as points. If I don't want to count it towards the final grade, I could click that. And then I could also choose who I assign this to or a due date. So the due date for this will be March 14th. I want everybody to complete it. And I'll click save and publish. So at this point, as an instructor, I've got this course ready, and I'm ready for my student to take this and to start doing the activities. If you'd like to use this in the demo course, you can try it, but I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, John, who'll now do the what a student sees and experiences when they do this literature activity. Take it away, John.
Thanks, Steele. I'm just double checking in my student account here that that new module is showing up. Maybe I'll just try logging in again. And then I'll share my screen so I'm not showing you the behind the scenes.
I've answered some of the questions in the chat. We can get to those in a second as well.
Ah, great, thank you. Now, I saw you publish it, Steele, but can you just double check on your... Okay. Ah, there it is. Great. Thank you. The live demo. Okay, now you can see, let me just share here. So I'm logged in as a student now, just to show you what the student end looks like from those activities, and just what it looks like within the LMS itself. So Steele was showing you the web book for this, and we provided that link. And now as a student, I get access to this book through the LMS. So you can see it's the same book. The navigation for the book now is within the LMS itself, within Canvas. And as a student, I can go through and I can start answering the questions. Oh, okay, not off to a great start. So I'll have to check that. And I can see here, okay, Blackhawk is the leader of the SOC people. Kansas and Wisconsin, future president. I think it was Lincoln. Served in the, and I'm going to say Civil War. And at the time of the wars, and Black Hawk was, let's say, I don't know. I think he was 55, about my age. Most of the conflict. Okay, I know this. Wisconsin, and I'm going to check that. Okay, I have some work to do. I have to reread some of this again, but got some points. That's great. Who was Lincoln's general? I'm going to check that. And the poem is sympathetic. I think it is. Yes. Okay. And you can see that some of that feedback when I get the questions right. That's great. Shows admiration and respect for Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. No, I don't think it does. Okay, super. Okay, and the rhyme words. Okay, let's see. Old, moved, bloom, and room. Check that. Okay. I'm rolling now. And scroll down. Now, because I got this right, you can see in the behavioral settings, I can either retry it or I can see the solution, but I got them all right. So that's great. And let's just scroll down here. Let's pretend I listened to this. Let's try that. No. Okay. Speaker wants peace. I'll just try that. Check. Okay, one right, one wrong. So I'm going to finish that. 1 out of 4. And okay, now the essay question. I won't bore you with all the writing I would show here. So I'm just going to copy my previous response and check that. Oh, okay. So based upon my response, this is the feedback that I get. And I got full marks. So love it. And now I can go back and I can have a look, and I get my score shows as 14 out of 20 in the gradebook. So I am going to just pass it back to Steele, who's going to show you what the instructor side now looks like.
Yeah, thanks. There were some questions in the chat that I tried to answer. We'll come back to those maybe a little bit later, but let me just show the instructor view first. So as an instructor, you will see obviously the gradebook, which will look very similar to what John was showing. And in the gradebook, you'll see each student and how they perform. So I can see on this particular activity, I'll see John's 14 out of 20, which is nice. But I often will want to know, okay, that was a multi-part assessment. That overall score is helpful, but not that helpful. And so the key piece that I mentioned earlier was what's called the Pressbooks Results Viewer. And this is something that we built as part of the Pressbooks Results product. And what it does is it will give you additional details about an individual chapter or assessment. So every graded chapter will be available in this dropdown. So in this case, the example we were showing was this literature activity. When I open up the literature activity, we will see the chapter title here and information about the grading attempt. In this case, I'm doing the best attempt, and I can see that this is out of 20 available points. The gradebook may be worth something different, but this is the raw number of points from the H5P activities. And I will show the next list of students because there's a lot of people enrolled in this course, and I'll find John. I can see for John, he scored 14 out of 20, and he scored a 0 out of 1 on the true-false question. Because it's a true-false, I can click on it, and I can open a little viewer that will show me details. Here's the question itself, and here is the score that John submitted today. He wrote, he answered true, which is incorrect, and the correct answer was false. So that's how I know John did on that true-false question. I'll also see that he got a 7 out of 7 on the question set, and then he got a 3 out of 5 in that fill in the blanks activity. So let's take a look at his most recent activity here, and we'll see he put Sauk, which is correct, Lincoln, which is correct. He wrote Civil War, and the correct answer was Black Hawk War. He guessed 55, and then he said Wisconsin. So I know that John was confused about the war and the age of Black Hawk if I wanted to follow up with John. And then I can see the reflection essay. And this one's going to be really valuable because that was a long response. I gave him some automatic feedback, but here's his full submission. And I'd be able to read this for any student and see what did they submit and answer for their essay. And I can also see that the last question, that foreclosure quiz, he got a 1 out of 4. We don't yet have visualizations available for quiz question sets, though I think that may be in the works. But many activity types, you can see that detailed drill down visualization. And that's available for all the students. The student also can see this score, the points they got, which can help them know, okay, if I wanted to improve my score, I really want to retake this and retake that, for example. That is kind of the instructor view of Pressbooks results. I can see there's a little bit more activity in the chat. Thanks, Kim. Nice praise. Kim also asked, oh, I forgot, we didn't see how to activate hypothesis in the book, which is true. So let me go back to the book and show you how you do that. In your book, you're going to see a settings menu over on the left dashboard, and you'll see an option that says hypothesis. So if you click settings hypothesis, you'll want to decide under the content settings, where do you want to make press or a hypothesis available? I think parts, chapters, front matter, back matter is a good choice, or you could say just on chapters. Once those buttons are clicked, what will happen is in the public book for any of these chapters, let's say I go to this chapter, this hypothesis client will be visible to the user no matter what browser they're using. It's just built into the page. They'll be able to expand it. If they were logged in, they would be able to make annotations. They could do them in a public layer, or you could make a private group. So I could make a group that's just for my 101 class and a different group for my 201 class. And we could have those annotations visible inside of a private group or on the public layer. So there's lots of different options you have there with the hypothesis if you wanted to do social annotation. John, did we show an example of an annotation? Do you want to show how you could make one as a student, or should we?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'd be happy to.
So if John had launched he's still in student view, and if you, I'll kind of narrate once John gets in maybe. So Kim asked, hypothesis looked like it was enabled within the assignment. Yet the reason why, Kim, is what you're seeing inside of Canvas is actually the live version of the book. So if I made edits to the book, they'd be reflected and updated there. So just like I was showing you on the web book, there's hypothesis, it's also true here. So if John expands that, he's seeing the same thing that you would see on the public layer. Let's scroll down and look at the poem itself, because there's a question that I asked on the poem. So the first word is Blackhawk. And if we click, who was Blackhawk? I put a little photo here. This is my question for the class. John is logged in, so he can click the reply button down below, and he could submit his answer to this question.
And I'm going to
Sure.
post it to the public.
So now I can see my annotation. I can see John's reply, and then I could reply with additional context, or other students could reply, or whatever they wanted to do with the annotation layer. So Kim also asked, we have the hypothesis LTI for Canvas. What we're describing are kind of two separate things. This is showing the Pressbooks LTI integration that has hypothesis built in. You would use this if you wanted to load a Pressbooks chapter in your book. If the Pressbooks chapter was private or you wanted grade passback, that would be when you would use the Pressbooks LTI integration. The hypothesis LTI integration is great, and you can use that with any public content on the web, including a public Pressbooks chapter. The reason you'd want to use the hypothesis LTI integration would be if you want to assign an annotation activity to students for a grade. If you want their annotation to be the thing that you grade, you'd want to use the hypothesis LTI integration. And you could have them be annotating a public Pressbooks chapter, though when you use the hypothesis LTI integration, all of those annotations live in a private sandbox that's only available to your course. I don't think you can do a public annotation using the hypothesis LTI layer, though you do get some grading capabilities from them. I'm not the biggest expert on the hypothesis LTI integration, but that's my understanding. All right, we covered a lot in a fairly short amount of time. I want to make sure we didn't miss any other questions. Was there anything else in the chat that we didn't get to?
Yeah, still, Eden had posted about embedding an H5P activity within a D2L course. I was just going to say, Eden, I think we're going to need a little bit more information about the book and the course. But we have had, when Steele was setting up an activity, you might have seen that the library does need to be updated. So H5P does update the libraries. We've seen some people dealing with a library not being updated and the activity not displaying as an embed.
There's a question about other vendors, including the H5P and Hypothesis integrated in Pressbooks. There are a few other integrations with Pressbooks. What we're talking about, though, are using the free and open source versions of this, because Pressbooks itself is free and open source. So in each case, these vendors also have their own enterprise products and LTI tools. and they are different, and they have different functionalities and different features. We probably don't have time to go into a real deep dive there, and it's probably not appropriate for me to comment on their vendor solutions and how good they are, or whether they're worth it, but that's a decision probably for your institution to make. There was a question about the paid H5P.com product and LTI integration. My understanding there is what you're getting essentially is an authoring interface for H5P where those activities are hosted on their servers. And then you can create the H5P activities themselves become graded assessments directly in your LMS. That's a great product and a great use case and a great feature. If you're trying to use H5P inside of Pressbooks where you have multiple activities per chapter and grade it with Pressbooks, that won't be possible with H5P.com. That's something that Pressbooks provides through Pressbooks results. But if all you want to do is create a single H5P assessment and have it count for a grade, then you could definitely do that with the H5P paid integration and their content types. Let's see, lots of questions. Can we take courses with our Teach account? I don't know exactly what that means, Lucia, but maybe that's about Canvas.
I think it means still if you have a Teach account on Canvas and you log into our demo course, can you take? And yes, you can.
Okay, great. Yeah, good. Thanks, John. I didn't know the answer. So the other thing that I wanted to share are, we have some more sessions this week. I know we're running out of time. John and I can stay for a little bit after to answer a few questions if people would like to, but we would like to end this webinar on time. We have 2 more events this week for OE Week and 1 more in April that we think would be interesting. If you want to know more about a different use case called student e-portfolios, we have a really cool session that we're doing with co-hosting with OE Global. Terry Green and Amber Hoy will be presenting about different work that they've done about students making e-portfolios and publishing them with Pressbooks. I'll also be on that panel. Later this week on Thursday, I think John will be hosting this session, and it's called Growing Institutional OER Programs. Is Pressbooks right for you? Do you have a short capsule summary of that session, John, you want to give?
Yeah, thanks, Dale. That session actually will be intended for people that don't have access to a Pressbooks network, and just what having that kind of access to a Pressbooks enterprise network can do for your OER program or whatever publishing you're doing on campus.
Thanks, John. And then in April, on April 7th, we're doing a partner program with both Rotel, the Remixing Open Textbooks Through an Equity Lens project, and the Rebus Foundation, talking about exploring the power of adaptation in open education. And this refers to when you take an existing open work and you make a significant revision or adaptation or remix for your particular cultural or social context. We think that one's going to be really exciting, and that will be Monday, April 7th, after Open Education Week, but it's relevant to the topic, so we're mentioning it here. There's a link in the chat for how you can register for these events or find the page. And then finally, some contact information. Thanks for being here. If you'd like to get in contact with John or I, our email addresses are listed here. It's our name at pressbooks.com. I will end the screen share at this point. We can probably end the recording, but we'll stay on with if anybody has questions that they wanted to ask. Otherwise, thank you for being here. I hope you have a great Open Education Week, and we look forward to seeing what you create and what you share, especially if it's using Pressbooks.